Chatting
Sounds
to
good.
Todd Hitch, 2025 US Open champ. Todd, thank you so much for making some time. It was lovely to meet you in Cyprus when we both shot at the World Fit Task. And it's actually quite rare to run into people at the World Fit Task because you don't see everybody. You basically stay with the same group of people in the same areas for those 4 days. So it was lovely to run into you. What was your experience of Cyprus?
I thought Cyprus was good. I'd say the biggest factor is hot. I mean, 110, 115 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit. I mean, by far the hottest conditions I've shot in. I thought it was good. Targets were good. I feel like we shot the two best layouts on our last day.
Yes.
So that kind of changed my perspective of the tournament. I felt like the first couple of days I was like, oh man, I kind of feel like I was out of. If I had started on those, I was like, oh, I can still catch back up because those last two were pretty stout. I finished on the Blazer and Krieghoff parcours. I'd say the last peg on Krieghoff was by far the hardest of the whole tournament.
By far. I mean, that one, the the one bird, I think it was the B bird that
Yeah,
everybody, I mean, I watched four squads go through and I think I saw it broken twice.
yeah, yeah.
It was
I mean,
huge.
it was bad too. Full swing pretty much off to your left, and then the last single was. I mean, that was the one that was green below your feet. I would estimate probably 85 yards. One of the longest targets I've shot at in a competition that's been set that is that distance without the wind affecting it.
Yeah, that was big. That was big. Okay, so I mean, we can carry on about Sabbath, but I want to get back to 2025 because uh even though it's only August now, and we're speaking the week before you go down to is it the Western Regional?
Western Regions, yep. So
Yeah.
next week head out to Idaho near Boozman to go shoot Nick Bailey's club, Rocky Creek. So I'm curious to see what it's like. I know the targets are set pretty stiff, and he's got the train to set about anything you can possibly imagine. So I'm very excited to go shoot there.
I chatted to him last week, and that podcast is available on the channel. And
Oh,
yes, like you say, the terrain looks incredible. So I think you're in for a good week. But US Open, take me back, take me back. US Open, it's one of the majors in America. It's one of the elite competitions to win if you're a sporting clay shooter in the States. And to be the US Open champion, I mean, it feels like you've been around forever, but I mean, you're only 22 years old.
yes, yeah, yeah. So I started shooting NSC in 2017. So I'm going on 8 years now, and then so the U.S. Open. So I've been close the last 2 years, like really close. So last year, I was actually leading the tournament, going in the final day, and then final day just kind of fell apart, which is not like me. And then the year before that, I finished tied for third, lost in the shoot. I finished fourth, and so this year. Leading the tournament, going last day. I technically was tied with the guy that was in the master class, not in the pro class, Grayson Ponder. He was shooting really well. And I felt like he actually had the best chance of winning because he had the 68 bird course. I had the 66 bird course. So in theory, I could shoot straight and still lose. And so
Yeah.
it was one of those situations. Is okay, we got last day. We gotta go out and put a score up. And so thankfully, I went out, had a good squad, shot my first. It was I believe it was a 13 station course. Shot my first 11 stations straight, and then missed one. No big deal. Go to my last station. It's a big tower, Batu coming across the pond, and I'm watching. It was backed up. I watched about three squads, and I was like, okay, I feel like I've read it good. Honestly, if we run this, I think we might get it. And I step up, call pull, kill the first bird, set up the second one, and it ends up coming out like way lower than I expected it to. I don't know if it was the wind or I just made a mistake, and I was like, whoa, missed it. And I'm like, oh, all right, we got to get the next two pail. Step back up, made the adjustment, held low, kill the next two pail. And I was like, yeah, it's gonna be close. I feel like if I was one away, I would have been like, yeah, I think that would do it. But missing that one, my last station, just like it wasn't. I didn't think that might not that might not get it. It was just that it didn't feel like if I had hit that one, I would have felt like I'd sealed the deal for sure.
Yeah.
So it was a good feeling though. But after being close the last 3 years, it was the last 2 years. Finally sealing the deal this year was a good feeling.
Tell me, Todd, for your mental sort of setup, do you find the the mental aspect of the three different disciplines? I'm talking now five stand, sporting clays, fit task. Do you find it's a different mindset for each three?
I would agree. Yeah, yeah, I would say yes. So I look at it as in say fit ask and five stand. So you on fit ask and five stand, typically the most you're shooting a target on a station is twice. It's pretty standard. Except for every once in a while you might shoot multiple times. So depending on what my focus is on the shoot, so like say here in the US we shoot sporting, fit task, and everything all at the same time. If I'm going to do just a sporting shoot, say fit task and sport, say five stand, I look at it as okay, I just gotta hit this target three times the max. So it's a little bit. It's I'm not as strict on my technique, and I'm more focused on reading the targets because I'm seeing significantly more target presentations. For sporting, I'm more focused on okay, that's making the same move every single time, making sure my technique is very precise, and making sure essentially we're monitoring yourself for getting careful over the 4 or 5 pairs you're shooting on a station.
So I've seen your pre-shot routine is quite specific. I'm not asking because I have any previous knowledge, but were you ever coached by Wendell Cherry?
Yeah, so I've taken 3 lessons from Wendell. And my main coach is actually Tom C, which was a student of Wendell's,
Yes.
but Tom C's my main coach. He's not hasn't shot a whole lot the past couple of years, but he's getting back into shooting this year. Like I shot with him this past weekend at the North Central Regional and stuff, so it was good. But he's the one that's really taken me to the next level.
Because it's a very deliberate pre-shot routine. Uh, and it's good to watch it. It's good to show someone who doesn't know what a shot routine is. It's like, well, watch this. Watch what Todd is doing here. Like he does the same thing every time. And he's doing it for a reason. He's doing it because he's getting his mind into a subconscious place that he can execute the thing he wants to do. And then there's a post-rush routine, and then he does it again. It's good to watch. It really is.
Yes, and I think one of the biggest things in pre-shot routine is really it's not necessarily what you do. It's about doing the same thing over and over, whether it feels good or not. Because you're gonna have days where you're shooting, and I've had it before where I've like the days you're shooting good, pre-shot routine doesn't matter, but you still go through the motion to make sure you're staying consistent to keep the variables from coming into play. I think your pre-shot routine matters more on your days you're doing bad. That you have to keep trusting your pre-shot routine in order to keep that process in order to get your mind in the correct spot.
But you've taken routine to another level because I've listened to other podcasts where you've spoken about you have a practice routine and you do the
Yep.
same things. You start off with a quartering right to left bird and you make sure you hit five of them, you're punching them dead center, and you could go through three boxes before you move on to your next bird. So what I know you've got 10 Promatic machines at the farm, which obviously helps. What does the rest of the routine look like?
For practice,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So start off with a quartering bird right to left, 45 yards, medium speed, showing dome, and then from there it goes into pairs. So I work on typically it's okay. How do I get my eyes over the second target? So it's bang. Work on essentially shifting my eyes correctly, and then from there it's making sure I'm doing the same thing every time. So typically what I'm monitoring in my technique is I'm looking for rotating my lower body, make sure my eyes are locking in at the same time and at the correct time, and my eyes are not moving too early. So that's one thing I have. I do a lot of wing shooting, and so I end up getting. I call it jumpy or fast, which is where my eye will actually move in front of the target. I can still kill it, but my eye is more on the gap than on the actual clay. And so that's the biggest thing I work on to this day is making sure I'm slowing my eyes down, let my eye really see the clay, and then I'm almost reacting or then moving on the bird from there. Um, but again, so that's my technique side of it. I still always continue to work on 5 and row, whether it's singles at the first of practice or at the end of practice. The only difference is I typically will start to move back the more I shoot. So say after 50 shares, I'm primed, I'm warmed up, everything should be loose. Then I'll say I started at 30 yards, I'll move to 40, then 40 to 50, and I'm changing areas and stuff like that. And that's how I've practiced my entire life.
So that also teaches you how to shoot a straight, basically. You,
Correct as well, because the biggest thing is I'll look at the reason I like and emphasize using 5 in rows because you never shoot five in competition. It's typical always 3 and 4. So if I can hit 5 in a row when I go to a tournament, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to hit 3 or 4 in a row.
yeah,
On it.
yeah,
And
because it
so
becomes like you. It becomes something that your body is used to. So shooting three, yeah, you do this every day. Good.
yes, and so it makes it running that station feel easier, so to say, because you've done five, so you can do three.
Exactly. So there's a lot of myths out there about how much you top guys in America train. Um, so dispel some myths for me. Like in an average week, how much are you shooting? How many slabs?
All right, so we'll say last week. So last week was the tournament after we finished the regional Sunday. So Monday through Sunday, I've shot 180 shells.
180.
80 shells. Yep. And now again, but that also varies. Like I've been in Chicago coaching all week, and so that's varied a touch. On average, I'm shooting 200 between 200 and 500 a week. 500 on the high side, 250 on the standard side.
So two slabs, like on a really high side of training.
Yeah, and
Okay.
even here recently, I've actually taken a little bit different training approach. Uh, I've been focusing on one of my goals for this year was to don't that I do not go to a tournament unless I'm fully well rested and prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, which partly that's me making my schedule better when I'm really prepared for it. So I've actually been I call it like 2 days is what we call in football. So I would go out, shoot 100 shells in the morning, go out and do some work rest of the day, then the evening go out and shoot 100 shells. Because 100 shells you typically won't get fatigued on, and so I'm focusing more on quality and quantity. And then by I'm doing it 2 times a day, it's getting into the muscle memory a little faster.
Hmm.
And then I say 3 days a week, so that'd be a little more than the two slabs, but it'd be say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then morning, evening.
Yeah, it's very
And
interesting.
the reason I'm able to do it is just because I have my own training facility, so I can go out and shoot. Like right now, it's bright to about 9 o'clock here, and so I can go shoot at 8:30 when it's finally starting to cool off a touch, and go shoot a little bit.
That is quite fortunate. You mentioned the coaching. You were in Chicago coaching. You're a young guy getting coaching, even in the States. It's not like you can just have at your facility at home, have everyone come there. I mean, how far is Chicago from where you are?
Chicago's about a 12-hour drive, so it's a good little haul. Yeah, yeah. So on this particular trip, we were shooting the North Central Regional up at Game Unlimited in Wisconsin. So I'd driven up there last Wednesday, stayed there, and then Chicago was 5 hours south. Drove the 5 hours down to Chicago, and then drove the rest home Saturday. So it was
Yeah.
worked out well. And so if you can kind of make it, but it's a trip. When it gets really tiring is when you go Chicago home, Dallas home, and then it's like if you can make kind of a circuit of it, or say make a loop of it,
Yeah.
that's when it makes it easier.
So you've obviously got a spectrum of students that you are busy working with. Guys from novice, just beginning the game, to guys who are competing in tournaments with you. How
Yeah.
do the lessons differ?
So I base all my lessons off of what the students' goals are. So that's my priority. Is what's before we start a lesson, what do we want to accomplish? That's the first thing I go over. And so we'll say a beginner shooter. Say the person's just kind of getting into it. Biggest thing is making sure they're safe, comfortable. They are enjoying shooting. They're hitting clays and they're understanding how they're hitting the clays. That way, when I'm not with them, they can still go out and break clays and improve. Now, say that student comes back 2 years from now. Now he's like intermediate shooter, shooting well, starting to get into some tournaments. His goal is okay. I want to hit the master class. That's our top class over here. And so okay, all right. So now we look at okay, how much are you practicing? Let's get a practice team. So say I tell them to do my exact practice team. Then I'd walk into okay, how do we need to fine tune the technique to make sure we have no major mechanical issues in there, and then from there we work on fine tuning over the next couple months, and then say they've hit master class and now they need two more buds to win their state shoot. And that's when it really turns into okay, what are we doing mentally on the course? How are we preventing ourselves from missing? How do we get ourselves to the point where we can start to feel a miss before we miss? And that's really when it gets like very technical. Because essentially you're monitoring more yourself, your techniques there, then it's about keeping it at the same level and then preventing yourself through essentially a mental routine to tell when you're going to miss a clay or not. Generally, you can tell when you're going to miss it after you've monitored yourself for several years, if you're monitoring yourself in the correct way.
Do you also find, with that in mind, one of the biggest lessons in any of the clay target sports is becoming brutally honest with yourself? I find a lot of clay shooters, especially guys who are helping, the guys will lie to you, like themselves. They'll lie to themselves. Like they won't even be honest about the gap they're giving the bird. So like you'll tell a guy, you're in front. There's no doubt about it. You're in front. No, but I only gave it a meter. I'm like, I can see from behind you. You gave it 5 meters. Does that the
Yep. And
same thing for you?
so, I think that's that's one my that's a good topic. So it happens a lot because everybody sees lead a little differently. I think the key thing is, and if you're trying to tell somebody to do something, is you have to make it to where they realize it by setting it up in a word to where they realize it. Because when you get that aha, oh, I was in front of it, then they know instantly and they never do it again. A lot of times, typically, we'll say, I consider that to be you're stubborn. Like, if I'm telling you you're shooting in front of it and you think you're behind it and you're like, you're just being stubborn, if you can avoid it to a way where it's like, oh, you kind of say, I think you might be in front of it, and then you kind of say in a guess, and then you say, this is what I feel when I'm in front, and then they back it up on their own and they shoot, and then that gives them that aha moment, and
Yeah.
it typically always clicks in there. But it also depends on, I mean, you look at lead, like I see different lead than a lot of people. I don't see a lot of lead when I shoot stuff, but I know how much the actual target takes if I did see the lead of it. Just
Yeah.
we'll say, like, say it's a 40-yard crosser, takes 10 feet of lead. If I'm looking at the bird really clear, like to where my gun barrel almost goes away, I might see 2 feet of lead, but the target took 10 feet.
Yeah.
And
I
but I know
understand.
I can feel from the gun speed that it was 10 feet of lead. And so if somebody asks me how much lead I put in the bird, I don't say, hey, I put 2 feet because I don't shoot miles behind it. I know the bird takes 10 feet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah, because
that's
on
just
those days when you really are shooting well, you
yeah.
almost don't know what the lead is because you were just shooting. It was when you get into that proper subconscious, it's a tough thing.
Yeah, and anybody listen, those lead numbers at 40 feet, typically 40 feet's not 10 feet. That's just for the podcast.
Exactly, exactly.
I think they've been messing a little fun a little bit.
So, in South Africa, I am very fortunate to have a sponsor. I know you are sponsored by Jack Links, Remington, Promatic. I know you may have one or two other sponsors. Anyone you want to shout out to? Because I've got some questions about sponsors and how you, as the shooter, have a responsibility to your sponsors. So, who else is involved with Team Todd Hitch?
So I'm very happy having, fortunate to have the sponsors I have. Number one sponsors, I'll just kind of go through them is Jack Links Beef Jerky. They're my biggest sponsor. Then I have Cameo Horse Fencing, Promac Traps, Remington Ammunition. I call them the Golden Bullets. It's a gold shotgun shell. And Quail Creek Sporting Ranch. That's where the Jack Links Cup is hosted. Then we have Demo Box, the speaker company, Castellana USA. That's the shooting vest I wear. And then we have Euro Target, which is actually my current newest sponsor. So they're clearly big overseas. They're just now kind of pushing into the U.S., making a big market over here. Then we have Cole Gunsmithing. So they make all my gun stocks, and that's who I do most of my gunsmithing through. And then also have Hadley's Field Shops, which are a clothing company. So they kind of send me clothes and I'll advertise them. That's more on the hunting side, kind of say driven game area from there. So I've been very, very fortunate to have the sponsors I have. So without them, I wouldn't really be here. So, and then another one of my sponsors, which actually this is a pretty cool one, is Kids and Clays. So it's a charity foundation for kids, essentially to get kids involved in clays. And so that's something I'll go to some of the events, work with them, and then we provide opportunities for kids to get into shooting, which without that, we won't be here in a couple of years.
You also said to me if I ever decide to come to the States, the one that you would advise me to come to would be the Jack Links Cup. Is that still the case? I mean, that's not just a sponsor's pitch?
Yeah, so that's outside of, like, so before I was sponsored by Jack Links, that's still the shoot in the US. As far as if you're gonna come over, it's in January, so it's 80 degrees, it's in Florida, breezy. The biggest thing is why I say that is because if you look at the shoot as far as if you did not have any clay shooting, so take away all the shooting on the course, you'd have a massive dinner where you feed close to 1,000 people with ribeyes, and then you would give away close to 100 guns, and then you would even give away a Can-Am or Polaris. And so the first year, the guy that won it, lived in Jamaica, and so they shipped it all the way down to Jamaica for them. So as far as hospitality goes, it's pretty unbelievable. And then we have beef jerky stands all on the courses, and then there's water stations in each station and stuff. So, and that's without side shooting. And then when you sign up to get in, say the first year we had, pretty much it was a semi Yeti cooler. You get a Bass Pro Shops gift cards, hats, beef jerky just for signing up. So say the entry fees, say $300 for easy number, you typically get at least $150 in goodies just by signing up. So, and then you get the target setting, the towers, I think close to 10 to 15 events. I'm not 100% sure on that. Then plus we have Helise on the side games, and then we're actually in the current process of building a new lodge going forward. So it's pretty cool. And those are all some other shoots in the U.S. that do stuff similar to that. Like say U.S. Open Nationals are still a good one, but you don't have the ribeye dinner with guns given away. At least not that you have guns given away, but it might be 5, not close to 100 of them.
Amazing.
And then
Well, that is on my bucket list. I've got to come and take you up on that. I've got to come and see the Jack Links Cup. But with that in mind now, so we met in Cyprus. You go all the way from the United States, you climb on a plane, you go and shoot at EJ Churchill, you do the doubles. Then the following weekend, you go and shoot the World Fit Task. 200 birds only. On an average shoot where you go to in the States on an average weekend, you're going to shoot how many clays? How many clays would you shoot on an average shoot weekend?
So an average clay. So say we just got back from North Central Regional, so I use that. So regional, that's on average I'd shoot 600 to 800 in a weekend. So whether that's Thursday through Sunday or Wednesday through Sunday, but 600 to 800 depending on it. So you have 200 on the main, 100 on the sporting, 100 on the prelim, 100 on the 510, and then sometimes I do super sporting. Then I add that in. So, and then if you look at some of the shoots like nationals and you have 300 target main events, so you're shooting even more. And that's just the main. And then we also have side events. We have the make or break shoot-offs and stuff. So those are 25 targets each, and you can shoot till you qualify. So I always tell people between 600 and 800 shells in a weekend on top. So it's a little bit different mindset than 200 targets in a weekend. You have better make those 200 targets count.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that stands out for me, and I heard this in another podcast, so far for this year, you're averaging like 95 per 100
Yep.
clays. I mean, that is incredible, especially for sporting clays. That is going some. Um,
Like,
but last year, you came off what was in your mind a relatively disappointing year. You changed guns. Last year you were shooting another gun. This year you went back to the DT11. Uh, what was the change in mindset? So, you come off a slumpy year in your, sort of in your high standards. For most shooters, I think 2024 wouldn't have been a bad year. But I mean, 2025, you've just taken it up to another level. You're shooting 95%. What changed? What was the mindset? Was it the equipment? Was it the trust in the equipment? What was the thing?
well, I'd say the motivation part was I don't like losing. Uh, of course, no. So it wasn't. So last year wasn't necessarily a bad year. It just wasn't the year I was wanting it to be. And so essentially that means I did not accomplish the goals I wanted to accomplish in a year. And I'm a very goal-oriented person. So if I set a goal, I really want to achieve it. And so like last year when I came close on the U.S. Open, it was okay. Next year was the year. And so when I went back, it was okay. We're going looking back into 2023 like it was. I finished top 5 in nearly every shoot, shooting really good. Okay, what can we do? What was I doing in that year? Then how can I improve on that? Because I had of all 2024 to look back on that year. And then essentially I made a plan. Okay, we're going to shoot this many shells. We're not going to go to a tournament unprepared or unrested. And then we're going to focus even harder, essentially, and never pretty much just try not to make a mistake during the shoot. So that's going to come through practice, come through doing mounts at the house to get. Now I'm getting swapping guns back, get back used to this gun, and then build my confidence back in this gun. Because after not shooting a gun for you pick it up and it's like, oh, that can't fit like a 2x4. But we know if we put some shells through it, it's not going to feel like that anymore. And so get back, shot some shells, and I'd say I'm just now getting back to where I felt like I was in 2023 as far as perspective. So we'll say 8 months in the year, and I just got a new stock, a new gun from Cole Gunsmith thing that's identical to the gun I had in 2023. It's a little bit different grip of the gun. We modified that a touch. But so now that that's all finalized, it's okay. There's no gun thing anymore. It's just you and the gun and the clay. Just go shoot. And so now it's really been able to take my mind off. Okay, there's no fit issues. There's nothing like this. It's truly if it's a mistake, it's on my part. So if it's on my part, I should be able to control it in theory. So that's part of the reason it was like, okay, this year I don't want to make any mistakes as well as just make as little as I can. Like we'll say this past week of North Central Regional, I shot well. I shot very well the whole weekend. Finished top 5 in every event I shot. In the main event, though, I made quite a few mistakes. Like I probably made almost 10 I'd say 10 targets of mistakes that I felt like were avoidable that I kind of let slip, whether that was through a mental mistake or a technique mistake. But I'd say about 80% of them were a mental mistake.
So, I mean, you mentioned goals, and from what we were talking about throughout this conversation so far, would I be right in saying that you don't necessarily have results orientated goals, or do you? Like, is it in your greater goals to win a specific thing or shoot a number?
So yes and no. So there's so I kind of have two different mindsets here because I look at in order what do I need to do to accomplish that goal. So say my goal we'll just say was to win the U.S. Open. So what would I like go to the U.S. Open the first day? It's not like I got to win this. I got to win this. Like my goal is to win this. Let's win it. If you do that, you only think about the goal. You're not thinking about the steps that are going to get you there. And so I'm very process oriented about that. And so U.S. Open, I didn't think about winning it until the last station. Like I knew I was leading it, but I tried to keep my thoughts as much on okay, what technique do I need to use? Okay, when I see this clay, I need to see it turn, move, bang, focus on my technique, and that's what's going to cause me to get my goals. Not all right, let's go get this goal. If I think about that for me with my personality, if I think about just the goal, I won't ever get it. I got to think about what I got to do to get the goal. If I can do that, then I pretty much always get the goal.
Okay, so now what is the Mount Rushmore of titles for Todd Hitch? So let's break the rules. Let's make them goal orientated. I know we're breaking the rules now. So we've got the
So
US Open that's already on Todd Hitch's Mount Rushmore. What are the other which are the other ones you want to win?
yeah, so I want to get the nationals, and then of course both the world championships, fit task and sporting, and then I need to win if I could win the Western Regional and North Central Regional. Then I'll have checked off my regional list as far as I've won every regional in America, and then from there it would be Century, maybe the World Compact, which that's a little not a lot of Americans go to that. So if we go to that, that'd be kind of a cool one to win. But those on my list, and then clearly just kind of do as much as you can. One goal I always chase is the championship tour. Winning the U.S. So that's out of the U.S. Open, Nationals, and Regionals. It's a combined points total off of your FITASC sporting and FITASC main event and 5 stand, and so it's a collective points off the whole year. And so it's kind of like the tour championship. So in PGA, the tour championship.
Okay.
That's because I judge that off of really like the shooter of the year, and that's just through my eyes. Because how the All American points are in the U.S. is they're not based off of just the regionals, and so some of the shoots you can go to, you can get points on them, but it's not a regional. I typically only go to the regional shoots, and so I base it off of the championship tour, not off of like all the shoots.
Okay. And where in that sort of hierarchy does the World Fit Task fall for you? Is that number one or not? Is it one of the number ones?
So it's funny. So World Fit Task for me it's one of the ones I really enjoy it, but because I didn't really know a whole lot about Fit Task when I first started, I would say the World Sporting would be number one, World Nationals number two, and then World Fit Task number three. That's just in my eyes of that. Uh, Part of it's through it, like the World Fit Task. They say that's the most prestigious clay shoot in the world to win. I'm also very money motivated, so if it's the most prestigious shoot in the world, but you get checked for $0, so it's like
I hear you. I hear you.
that's the only thing I'm kind of like. Well, that doesn't you think the most prestigious, you think of the most money typically.
Yeah, yeah.
something. But also looking at if you look at from if say World Fit Task was number one in my eyes, like I looked at that this say in Cyprus. What makes that shoot so hard to win is because of so many variables. You got 4 days, wind conditions, waiting on a bus for 2 hours in 115 degrees heat, as we found out,
Yeah.
and so that's what makes it that shoot so hard to win and stuff. And so it's kind of looked at from a little bit different perspective. But World Fit Test is definitely on my goal, but World Sporting is that's over the top for me, especially at EJ Churchill. That's like looking up as a kid, looking up in the game. That's been like that's the place to win it at, and so
Yeah.
maybe in 2027, maybe that'll be the year.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to shoot the World Fit Task at Churchill's. I've never shot in English there. My next bucket list, I've got to get to the States. I went many years ago, and it's definitely next up on my list. And like you said, Jack Links sounds like the place to go. Todd, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it, and it was great meeting you. Cyprus, glad we were able to work something out.